This video is based on online discussions and unverified podcast commentary. No medical condition or personal health information about any individual has been confirmed or stated. This content is for commentary purposes only.
Sobering statistics tonight. New data from Harris County Health shows cases of HIV and other sexually transmitted infections are on the rise in our area and rising faster than anywhere else in town.
We're not in a fair fight. Mm-hmm. We're already outmatched and outgunned at all points.
Believe that it is quite highly possible that the AIDS virus is a result of genetic warfare.
Came from a private sector laboratory for money, because when they find the pill that you can take to let you do it again, somebody's...
Y'all, it started in Atlanta, and now the spotlight has shifted to Houston, but what's unfolding doesn't feel random anymore. Something darker is moving beneath the surface. Infection rates are climbing, HIV cases are surging, and entire communities are being pulled into a crisis that no one seems able to stop. And right in the middle of it, Katt Williams is raising a question most people are too uncomfortable to ask. What if this isn't accidental? What if this was engineered? Houston isn't just struggling, it's exceeding state averages, even surpassing national HIV numbers in ways that are hard to ignore. And the burden isn't evenly shared. Black and brown communities are taking the hardest hit again. But according to Katt, this isn't just data, it's a pattern. A deliberate one. So the real question becomes, who benefits from the silence, and why does this keep happening? Right now, nobody wants answers.
You went on spring break in Houston, Texas, you might want to get tested. 28,000 people currently have HIV in Houston, Texas. 40,000 people currently tested positive for STDs in total.
Picture this. 42,000 people returning home from a single spring break, unknowingly carrying an STD. 1 week, that's all it took for something to spread that fast, that quietly. And Houston became the center of it all. What was supposed to be parties, freedom, and escape turned into something far more unsettling. Because those numbers? They only reflect the people who actually got tested. Think about that for a second. That means the real number could be far higher, moving undetected, slipping through communities without warning. What happened in Houston didn't stay in Houston, it traveled, multiplied, and embedded itself into lives that had no idea what they were bringing back with them. And the most chilling part? This wasn't some distant possibility. It already happened.
42,000 people. Do you know how many that is? And there's other people who haven't even gotten tested who I got back from spring break. They're just like, oh, well, I don't have that on my lip. Or, oh, I don't have no symptom of burning or itching or any bumps in my mouth or any bumps down there or anywhere like that. Like, do you not realize that there's people out there that could have HIV and don't care to give it to somebody because they just want to do what they want to do and they want to live their life, because to them it's like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. I can live with this, someone else can. Baby, that's 42,000 people.
But y'all, this is where it takes a darker turn. A man is blowing up online after claiming he tested positive for nearly every STD on the panel, and this came right after his Houston spring break trip. Let that sink in. Now you have to ask, what are people really doing out here? Is protection just an afterthought now? And why is there this rush to connect with complete strangers like nothing can go wrong? Because when you actually step back and study the numbers, it paints a much more disturbing picture. The reason this conversation even exists is because the data isn't just concerning, it's alarming. A recent federal report shows the national HIV rate sits around 11.4 per 100,000 people. Texas? That jumps to 15.7. Already higher. But Houston climbs to somewhere between 21.6 and 25.6 per 100,000. That's not a small increase, that's a surge. A level that forces you to question what's really happening beneath the surface.
Rates of new HIV cases were seen in Montrose, followed by the second ward, and then Setgast. Although the sexually transmitted infections are found in basically every demographic in Harris County, the study found that there is one population that is testing positive for them more frequently.
Particular Black women. So Black women who are heterosexual are frequently getting STIs at a higher rate than others.
And it doesn't stop there, because when you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, the pattern only gets more disturbing. The number of people already living with HIV tells an even heavier story. Across the United States, the rate sits around 308 per 100,000. In Texas, that number climbs to 327. But then you get to Houston, and suddenly the range jumps to somewhere between 464 and 566 per 100,000. That's not a small difference, that's a completely different level of exposure. It means if you're in Houston, statistically, your chances of encountering this reality are dramatically higher than almost anywhere else in the country. And that's where things start to feel less like coincidence and more like something deeper. Because when you break the data down further, another uncomfortable truth surfaces. Black communities in Houston and across the nation are being impacted at rates that are not just higher, but disproportionately higher than everyone else. This isn't speculation. This is something even Centers for Disease Control and Prevention openly reports. The numbers are there. The gap is real. And it's impossible to ignore once you actually look at it. Now, the official explanations? They sound familiar. Lack of education. Limited access to healthcare. High-risk behavior. That's the narrative that gets repeated over and over again. A chain of unfortunate circumstances. A collection of bad decisions. Something that can be explained away without digging too deep. And on the surface, it almost sounds reasonable, until you realize how consistent the pattern is. How predictable it becomes. How certain communities keep ending up at the center of it, no matter how much time passes. And that's exactly where Katt Williams steps in and completely flips the conversation. Because he's not buying the idea that all of this is random. Not even a little. According to him, what people are calling lack of education isn't just an accident. What they're labeling as poor healthcare access isn't just unfortunate. And those so-called high-risk behaviors? He's questioning whether those, too, are being shaped by something bigger. He's suggesting that what we're looking at isn't chaos, it's structure. Not coincidence, but design. A system where certain outcomes keep repeating, not because no one can stop them, but because no one ever truly does. And once you start viewing it from that angle, the entire situation feels different. Heavier. More intentional. Because if it really is by design, like he's claiming, then this isn't just a public health issue anymore. It becomes something far more unsettling. Something that forces you to question who benefits from these patterns continuing, and why they never seem to change.
Where to look. You probably wonder, why do white people pay so much attention to black people if they don't like them? You would think if you didn't like something, why would you be paying attention to it? I don't pay attention to things I don't like.
By the way, Katt previously said something similar about the fentanyl epidemic, pointing out that black people are dying from fentanyl ODs more than others, but they're not the ones who are actually producing and distributing it.
It's gonna blow your mind. There are 0 making fentanyl.
Look at white people.
What?
Now, let's really unpack what Katt Williams is getting at when he says this is all by design, because he's not just throwing words around. What he's challenging isn't the surface-level question of, are people making bad choices? He's flipping it entirely. He's asking something far more uncomfortable. Who built the system where those were the only choices on the table to begin with? Because from his perspective, you don't blame the player, you examine the game. And that perspective doesn't come out of nowhere. Katt has spent decades inside the entertainment world, watching how things operate behind the scenes. So when he speaks on intention, he's not speculating, he's pointing to patterns he claims to have witnessed unfold in real time. For years, he's argued that the entertainment industry, especially rap and hip-hop, has been steered in a direction that slowly erodes the very communities it profits from. Not loudly, not obviously, but strategically. Just think about the structure. The major labels, the ones controlling distribution, marketing, and visibility, they've historically been owned and operated by powerful executives far removed from the communities consuming the content. Yet they sign black artists, package their image, and push that content directly back to black audiences, generating billions in the process. On paper, it looks like opportunity, success, representation. But according to Katt, that's only half the story. Because what's really being promoted isn't just music, it's a narrative. A carefully curated lifestyle. One that glorifies excess, risk, and behavior that, over time, can have real consequences far beyond entertainment. And if that's true, then the conversation isn't just about culture anymore. It's about influence, control, and the long-term impact of what's being sold.
Rap world, like all of the rappers that you know that never been to jail and never gotten any trouble with the law, but they talk as if their life is opposite of that. Like, those are federal informants. Like,
you think they're really out there?
Yeah. That's part of the job, is to acquire those. It's like saying, if you're playing chess, do you have any pawns? You have to, don't you? You can't.
Now, think about what gets promoted in mainstream rap. What gets pushed to the top of the charts? Lyrics that promote promiscuity, pimp culture, aggression, substance use, gang lifestyle. And of course, nobody's holding a gun to anyone's head and making them listen to this. But when this is the only thing that gets funding, the only thing that gets pushed by the algorithm, the only thing that labels will invest in, what choice do young artists have? You either make the degrading content or you don't eat. And here's the really twisted part. The executives who push this content, they don't live in the neighborhoods they're selling to. They live in gated communities. Their kids go to private school. They're not out there living the lifestyle they're profiting off of. They're just collecting the checks while the communities that consume the content fall apart. And this is what Katt's been trying to warn about for years. He's called out the industry to their faces. And what happened? They blackballed him, called him crazy, bitter, jealous. So if you spend decades telling young black men and women that promiscuity is a status symbol, that using protection isn't cool, that women are disposable, what do you think happens to STD rates? It's not a mystery. It's cause and effect. And that's exactly how they designed it. But here's where the rabbit hole goes even deeper. A banned Will Smith interview just resurfaced that's been scrubbed off air for over 2 decades, where Will accused the government of using AIDS as a weapon to target black communities. Will didn't drop hints. He said it on camera sitting across from Barbara Walters all the way back in 1998.
I read that you felt that the government was deliberately spraying cold germs in subways, was deliberately trying to make people ill with the AIDS virus. This is pretty serious stuff. Do you really feel that?
I believe that it is quite highly possible that the AIDS virus is a result of genetic warfare testing.
By American agents?
Absolutely.
Will,
am I a conspiracy theorist? I'm a conspiracy theorist, aren't I?
But what really hits different is how Will told Barbara, they're going to chase me after this.
Oh, that's a serious one. Okay, so I got it now, because people are going to chase me after this.
Some would say this was the last time we saw the real Will Smith, but that's a topic for another video. Let's go back to this theory that it was deliberately spread among communities. Remember the Tuskegee experiment? For 40 years, from 1932 to 1972, the Public Health Service ran an experiment on 600 black men in Alabama. They told them they were being treated for bad blood, but they were actually being studied to see what untreated syphilis would do to the human body.
The United States Public Health Service launched an unethical research project to examine the effects of untreated syphilis. The project was called the Tuskegee Study because it recruited 600 black men living in Tuskegee, Alabama. Researchers told the men that they were being treated for bad blood.
And when a cure came out, the government hid it from these men and kept watching. They even promised free burials so the families wouldn't ask questions.
Men free medical treatment if they participated. While 2/3 of the men in the study were confirmed to have syphilis, not one received proper treatment for the disease they had contracted.
More than 100 men died. Some went blind. Their families were infected. And nobody said a thing until a whistleblower came forward and leaked information to the press. So when Katt says this stuff is by design, he's not guessing. He's looking at the receipts. And it goes beyond the US too. White European colonizers in South Africa literally admitted they deliberately spread AIDS to black Africans.
Intending to inoculate people and that type of thing.
The idea being to kill black people?
Yeah, to eradicate black people. You must understand the concept was that AIDS was a killer. It was incurable at that point in time, so it was led to believe that if you infected people, it was the quick, non-militaristic approach to eliminate black people.
And that is something you know for a fact, that AIDS was actively being spread to other countries?
Yes, to African countries. We were at war. Black people in South Africa were the enemy.
But so it was about white supremacy?
Definitely. Definitely trying to retain the white supremacy.
And this is where the pattern stops feeling subtle and starts feeling intentional. Because when you really step back, you begin to notice something that's hard to ignore. The same systems that once admitted on record to experimenting on black communities, to exposing them to harm under the guise of research. Are we really supposed to believe that mindset just disappeared overnight? Or did it evolve? Shift shape? Become harder to detect? Maybe it doesn't look the way it used to. Maybe now it moves quieter. Through influence instead of force. through culture instead of direct control, through industries that shape behavior, environments that limit opportunity, and systems that quietly keep resources, like quality education and accessible healthcare, just out of reach for the people who need them most. Different strategy, same outcome. And that's exactly the point Katt Williams has been pressing. Those HIV numbers? He's saying they're not random. They never were. Call it a conspiracy if you want. That's usually how these conversations get dismissed. But history has a way of circling back. Things people once laughed off later became documented fact. Look at the Tuskegee syphilis study. Look at MKUltra. Look at Operation Mockingbird. Every one of them sounded unbelievable until proof surfaced. So now the question isn't whether something is happening. The question is what and who benefits from nobody looking too closely. Because Houston might just be the example everyone can see, but what if it's not the only one? I want to hear from you. What do you think is really driving this surge? And do you believe this is coincidence or something far more calculated? Drop your thoughts below. Let's talk about it.